We're hauling in another one here. This is actually our second fish in a pretty short period of time to come on this combo. This is one of the new number 9 flicker shads. Out 30 feet, then we're snapping on a 1 ounce weight and letting it out another 80 feet after that. And we're right in about 30 feet of water, and we've been marking a ton of fish right in the bottom 10 feet of the water column. This one really feels pretty nice.
Yeah. Totally purple.
Oh, nice one.
Nice water.
Pretty nice one here, probably 23, 24 inches or so. Caught on that same combo, purple and white flicker shad behind that 1 ounce snap weight. We're gonna go ahead and release this one. We're back on shore here, and I'm gonna show you now how I like to set up my Leadcore poles for trolling for walleyes. The first thing you wanna look at is your combo. You wanna have the biggest line counter reel that you can find, because Leadcore has an extremely large diameter, so it takes up tons of spool space. So in order to fit 10 colors of Leadcore onto a reel, you need a really large sized reel. The next thing is the pole. This right here is an 8-foot Cabela's trolling rod. I like these. Really what you're looking for in a Leadcore pole is you need something with a little bit of give in the tip. You don't want it to be overly stiff, because when you're reeling in fish on Leadcore, there's absolutely no stretch to it. So you need some give in your rod so that those fish aren't constantly getting off on you. So that's what you want to look for in a combo. To start setting this up, to begin with, you're going to want to use some sort of backing. That would be the line that goes on first. We've already done that with this reel. So you want to put on about 100 yards of backing. It can be either monofilament or braid. I like to just stick with mono for walleye fishing. I like to keep it as cheap as possible. Because if you put 10 colors of Leadcore, walleyes really don't usually pull too much drag. There's a good chance that the next time I see the backing I just put on this reel will be when I re-spool this next year. So the backing isn't really critical because they're not ripping off a ton of line. Then you want to spool on your Leadcore. This, what I'm using here, is a full 10 colors of 18-pound Leadcore. You definitely want to stick with 18-pound. The reason you want to use 18-pound is because the 18-pound size has the highest amount of lead per diameter. Therefore, it'll get your bait as deep as possible and still keep the line as thin as possible, which is definitely something you're looking for. So I'll show you now how I set up the business end of this, which is really the part where it gets a little more tricky. So I've got it all spooled up already with my 10 colors. So I find the end of my Leadcore here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work back the sheath, the dacron, which surrounds the lead. You know, lead is the center of it, and there's this dacron around the outside. And I'm going to pull it back. And if you can see that, what I actually have here is about 4 inches of lead exposed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutters and I'm just going to nip that lead right off. And now I'm going to move the dacron sheathing back out. You kind of just work it with your hands. And now what I have is a loose end here. You can see how it's floppy because there's no lead in there. So all I did was I took the lead out of the core of the first 4 inches of the line here. And now this allows me to tie a knot. Some people like to just use a blood knot and attach it directly to the line. I personally like to use a very small swivel. So what I have here is just a tiny, tiny little swivel. I think it's probably a number 10. I'm not exactly sure, but it's very small. So then I just go ahead and tie this swivel onto this line using a standard fisherman's clinch knot. So now you can see what I have here is my tiny little swivel attached to the end of my Leadcore. And now all I'm going to do is add my final leader. And I like to use 14-pound fluorocarbon line. And what I do is I will use 20 feet of this. I like to have a nice long leader so there's some space in between that thick lead line and your bait. So I usually just run it out 3 large arm lengths, cut it off, and tie this right to that small little swivel. There I have that set up now. My Leadcore line is attached to my fluorocarbon leader material, and this swivel is plenty small enough where it will reel right through the eyes of my rod, right up into my reel without causing any damage or any issues there. And then all I do to finish up this system is just tie on a small little snap, which will allow me to put my lures on easy, change over in just a second without having to retie anything. Hauling in another fish here. This one hit. I'm pretty sure this one is our bottom bouncer, so it's got a number 7 flicker shad and then a 1 ounce bottom bouncer 10 feet up in front of it. Just pulled in this one, 20 inches. We got 2 more fish on, so I'm gonna let this one go and we'll reel in the next 2.
I'll grab the board after this.
Yeah. Not bad, nice fish. It's a good one. A little further, a little further. Got him. There's a nice one. All right, this was the second fish. We had 3 rods go back. A nice, probably 23, 24 inch walleye, and the third one there's a sheephead, so we didn't quite get 3 walleyes, but this was good enough. Working on another double header here. We only had, I think, 4 or 5 lines left in the water, and the last 2 just popped here.
Oh, got a nice hold it, babe. Back up, rod tip up and back up. Throw the hook. Yep.
Wow, this is a pig.
All right, that looks like about a 24 and a 22, both in the same net.
Oh, you blacked out. There you go. Yellow one. Oh, there's my hand.
Not bad one.
I just had this fish slam this pole before I could even get the board on. I let it out straight behind the boat. We'll see what it is.